Welcome to the Do More podcast, where we share strategies and tips for improving your life in every aspect. Here's your host, John Farling.
Welcome back, and thanks for listening, watching, however you're consuming content here that I'm putting out. Definitely appreciate you listening. Today was actually before I started recording today. Usually, and just a little backstory, this is a Thursday. I do my best to try to record a show either Monday or Tuesday. And Monday's the day I release episodes, but I try to also record that day or Tuesday. And this is only, I believe, episode 8 or 9. And I'm already kind of hitting somewhat of a wall. So kind of felt, I guess, inspired to talk about something that I think all people can somewhat relate to, whether you're a business owner, a real estate investor, whatever you do, doesn't have to be related to either of those. And we'll go into a little bit, but wanted to talk about something here. And that is, in my opinion, the number one reason why people succeed, and how they succeed. So let's talk about that. And the very first show I did was taking action, right? And I related that to this podcast because right now it's still new. And when I started, I didn't know exactly what it looked like. I still don't know exactly what this looks like. I just know there's some content that I'd like to put out there, some things I'd like to share. And truthfully, if anything, hopefully I help somebody somewhere at some point. But if anything, it's actually somewhat therapeutic for myself. And I learned from doing this as well. So it's been good with that. But first show was about taking action. Didn't really have anything figured out. I didn't have video. I think I recorded on my phone, and this is only 6-8 weeks ago, something like that. Wasn't that long ago, but really had nothing figured out. I just took action. Glad I did, because the picture is getting a little bit more clear. But now comes the struggle, right? I'm probably still somewhat in the honeymoon phase of doing this podcast, but it's getting tougher to come up with content. I do have people I can interview, but even trying to schedule with people, not that it's a hassle, but it's an extra step, right? It's an extra thing that I have to do. And then I have to make sure my schedule lines up with that person. And it's a whole thing. So it's just another roadblock. But after kind of thinking through all this, I'm like, you know what? Taking action is important. That's step number one. But what's probably more important is staying consistent with taking action, right? So even though I didn't record a podcast for the past 3-4 days this week, when my goal is to record on Monday, and really I'd like to record twice a week. I just haven't done that yet. But I've forced myself basically to get on right now to share this with you, that you have to push yourself. You're going to lose motivation. You're going to lose things to talk about. You may lose some inspiration, but at some point you have to, and actually I'm reading a book here, and I'll show it to you if you're watching the video. It's called Mind Power by Mike, I don't know, butcher his last name, Mike Agugliero. I believe he's out of New Jersey. He spoke at an event I went to last year, and it's a pretty good book, but actually a chapter that I'm on, that was reading this morning, he talked about how we have to in order to create new habits, which to me, this podcast is technically a new habit, right? It's something new in my life that I have to fit in. And that also means breaking down. The way he described it was forging a new path, right? I think he compared it to going through the Amazon jungle, right? And before, my daily routine, my weekly routine, my day in, day out, I had a path forged, and it was easy, and I knew exactly what I was doing. I throw this podcast in there, right? In a way, we can look at it as kind of a new business. While it doesn't make money, actually, it's losing money, which is fine. But it's a new business. It's a new adventure, and I need to forge a new path. And I need to get the machete out, and I need to forge that path within my brain, right? so that I continue doing this podcast, being creative, coming up with things to talk about. Yeah, so that's basically what I'm kind of in the middle of right now, and I'm glad that kind of hit me right now, because I wasn't all that motivated to record this or to record a podcast today, and it hit me. It's like, you know what? The key to having success in anything, and that anything could be a new business, an existing business, could be a relationship, could be getting healthy. And this is probably a good example. A lot of people go on diets, right? And what's a diet? It's a fad. It's and I think we talked about this with Jimmy Domer. I think that was last episode. And a diet is a fad, and people that do diets are probably not staying healthy, because a diet isn't a lifestyle, right? They're basically starting, and they're not starting new businesses, but basically their venture is failing before they see true success, right? They maybe their goal is to lose 5 pounds, and maybe within a month, 2 months, they lose that 5 pounds. As soon as they hit it with that diet or whatever they're doing, and we can insert 75 hard in there, and I'm not knocking 75 hard, but I've seen people do that. So you talk about what, 2.5 months of 75 hard, they've reached their goals, or again, they've lost 5 pounds, and then they stop. They hit their goal, they're done. And then their mindset goes back to how they were thinking and the lifestyle they were living before they started their diet or 75 hard. And I think, that's probably majority of people, and myself included, in a lot of areas, right? Especially when we're challenged or we're afraid of something, or whatever the case may be, whatever excuse we have that we make up in our head, it's tough to push forward to keep that consistency. And again, you can relate that to anything: business, diet, personal improvement. I'm relating to this podcast. It's scary. It's a scary thing, putting myself out there. Who knows what people are thinking? I get some feedback, but it is a scary thing putting yourself out there. And you hope you're doing it for the right reasons to hopefully help someone somewhere. But that alone probably won't allow me to, excuse me, won't allow me to continue to keep going, right? If in my mind it's, hey, I'm going to help one person somewhere at some point, it's probably not going to be enough motivation to create a new path and continue this path and keep this as a habit now in my life. Hopefully I will, and we'll see. But I think that's where, you hear something, I don't know stats, but you hear something about 90%, 95% of new businesses fail within 5 years, and maybe within 2 years, whatever it is. And this is the reason, right? To their credit, they take action, which most people don't do, right? Most people do not take action and step outside of their comfort zone to start a new business, new diet, whatever the case may be. Most people don't even get there. But the few that do get there, 90% of them, 95% of them, whatever the stat is, end up failing within 2 to 5 years, because they do hit roadblocks and they lose motivation, and they're probably not hanging out with the right people to give them the feedback or the encouragement or the motivation to keep them going, right? Because we, more than likely, you probably can't do it alone, right? Even this podcast, it helps to have some feedback. Even if I post it on Facebook and someone likes it, that's at least a little bit of an extra push that says, okay, I'm doing something here that someone, even though they may not have listened to it, maybe they just saw that I posted it and they liked it. That's motivation enough right now to keep me going. If you're starting a new business, you may not be getting that. You may run into roadblocks. You may run into big roadblocks. You may get sued, whatever the case may be. But the key to having success is staying with your consistent action, right? And not giving up. And I think that's probably, other than taking action, that's probably the number one trait that most entrepreneurs and or successful people in anything have. They just keep going. They find a way to bust down those roadblocks and keep going. Just consistent action. And I know I've probably talked about that in one of the other episodes, but that hit me today. Just not dreading recording another show, but it's hitting a little bit of a roadblock here and there. And the key to success, in my opinion, is just continue with consistent action and breaking down those paths and building a new path. And again, I'll see, I'm still new to this podcast thing, but I'll see if I can add it in the show notes. Again, this book that I'm reading, Mind Power, pretty good book. Mike Aguilera. I don't know the guy, but it's been a pretty good book so far. Again, appreciate everyone listening. Appreciate anyone that's watching. Please subscribe, like it, share, and appreciate any feedback that I get. Till next time, thank you.
Thanks for following, subscribing, and listening to this episode of the Do More podcast hosted by John Farling. To learn more or ask questions, go to l4investing.com.